Who wants pizza? I asked my friends while going through Domino's pizza app. Pepperoni for me. It was Mary, who just came back from the bathroom. I wonder how she heard me from there. I'll have veg cheese burst, thank you. Rosetta, who was in the kitchen trying to find something to eat, practically screaming in happiness that we were finally ordering something. Well, being a big old foodie, she was just overreacting. Just a margarita and a Coke for me. It was Sam, who was lying on the couch staring at me while doing absolutely nothing. But I want to have fried chicken, Matthew said without turning back. He was playing some RPG game on his PC. Even though I like him, he still pisses me off every single time. Oh, you want to have fried chicken, huh? Then why don't you order for all of us? I walked toward him and shouted in frustration. Nah, thanks. I'll have chicken pizza with extra cheese. He replied in a calm tone while having his full focus on the game. I sighed in frustration and continued ordering pizza for everyone. Okay, so the order has been placed. We wait for 30 minutes, I informed the group, and went ahead to sit on the couch next to Sam. Who wants to bet on the delivery boy being later than 30 minutes and us having free pizza? Sam put his hand over my shoulder and turned his face and asked others. Everyone agreed and placed a bet on the delivery boy being late. After that, everyone turned their faces toward me, except for, of course, Matthew, who did not care and continued to play his game. Well, I won't place a bet on a lost cause. I know delivery guys are always on time, so I don't want to lose my money over it. I shrugged my shoulders, freed myself from Sam's arms, and scooted away from him. But you can place your bet on him being on time and win. He came closer and said in a convincing tone while making me look him in the eyes. Well, I guess you must be wondering what's going on here, right? I know you may have figured out that a bunch of friends are ordering pizzas and placing bets because they are hungry, am I right? But what you don't know is that we are no ordinary group of friends. We are a bunch of psychopaths who are runaways from an asylum. Well, I am a bit more normal than the rest of them, but who's judging? How did we run from there, you ask? Well, let's just say there was a huge fire accident in there, and we were lucky to be the ones standing near the exit just before the fire broke out. Okay, fine. We were the ones who caused the fire, but it's not fair putting us in some mental torture place just because we are different from others. Tell me, how would you feel if someone did that to you? So everyone in the asylum died because of the fire, so no one knows about us. We have been friends from the first day, and we do everything together, no matter what. The thing about me not placing the bet was not because of the reason for delivery guys being on time, but there was another reason. We rarely place bets because of that reason. You know what? I should not reveal everything at once. You'll find out pretty soon anyways. Okay, fine. I will place the bet on him not being late. Sam and others convinced me to place the bet, so I did. Fate had already been decided. I was going to win, and they were going to feel down for losing. I knew I would win because the Domino's outlet I ordered from wasn't that far from here. I was so sure that he would deliver the pizza exactly on the 30th minute when everyone would be thinking that he is late. We are all focused on counting the minutes when the doorbell rang. I guessed it was the delivery guy. Everyone looked at the door angrily because he made it within 20 minutes. Even I was angry because it was no fun if he's early. I know I won, but I was not happy. But still, I went ahead and opened the door. Rosetta followed me. I opened the door, and it was the delivery guy. I took the pizza boxes from his hands. Want to come inside and have some fun? Rosetta's voice was changing into a slutty, sexy one, and we all knew what that meant. The delivery guy looked at her from head to toe with his lustful eyes. Well, she was just in lingerie, so I don't blame him. Sure, why not, he said, and Rosetta held his hands and dragged him in. I closed the door behind me and went ahead to place pizza boxes on the table near the couch. Here? In front of everyone? Rosetta was moving his clothes when the delivery boy asked in an embarrassed tone. Oh, they don't mind, right guys? Rosetta said while asking us. "Of course we don't. We'll be joining you guys for fun in a few minutes," I said while putting a pizza slice in my mouth. Others took their pizza boxes and started eating them as well. Rosetta moved the guy's clothes completely and made him lie on the ground. She climbed on top of him and they started having sex. He closed his eyes in pleasure and embarrassment that everyone was watching. I grabbed the knife from the kitchen and came closer to them. Rosetta smiled at me and started to moan louder while looking straight into my eyes. "Do it, babe!" Matthew kissed me on my neck after finally closing the game and coming closer as well. I stabbed the delivery guy in his chest and took over to Sam, who was removing his clothes. "What? Don't tell me we are not going to have group sex after this." Sam said that while looking at me with his lustful eyes. The delivery guy wasn't dead yet. He looked at us with surprise and fearful eyes while being on the verge of death. I handed the knife to Matthew, and Rosetta also pulled herself away from him. We kissed the delivery guy one by one, and then Matthew stabbed the guy in the lower abdomen multiple times until he died. "It's too bad I like living here," I said. It was like this every time we placed a bet. I did not like the mess and the fact that we had to leave the place every single time. Sam came closer, kissed me softly, and said it was going to be fine, while Rosetta and Matthew were already making out. I kissed Sam back passionately. It was like this. Matthew liked me, but Rosetta as well. I guess he liked Rosetta more than me, but I loved Rosetta, so I had to bear with it. Besides, Sam loved me and always made me feel good, so it was a win-win situation. We continued having sex because we also needed to clean up after this. Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. KFC was the most popular among the students back in 2014 when I used to live in the university hostel. It was the same year when they won the Marketing Excellence Award. The chicken used to taste great, and since the outing to university was only allowed on weekends, students used to flock to the outlet just to get a taste of KFC's chicken. But these days, it tastes awful. I'm not trying to offend those who still love KFC and savor the new flavors along with it. I'm just stating my own opinion. It's just that I hate the new greasy taste. I don't know if it's just the greasiness that makes my stomach upset just by thinking of it now, or the combination of spices they use that gives such a bad taste to it. I've heard from some people that they don't use the same method to fry the chickens anymore. Like back in the day, they used to fry their chicken in lard using the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices. But now they fry in vegetable oil with a lesser amount of herbs and spices to only making a valid claim that they do use it, but it's no longer the same. Well, I don't know about all these 11 spices and herbs, it just tastes like grease to me. And whenever I hate it, I just feel awful for the next few hours. For someone who used to love KFC to the point that every weekend was named Fried Chicken Weekend, to get to the point that despising even the name of the place has its own unique story. Between graduating from college, getting the internship, and then landing a job, I couldn't even catch when the love for those good old fried chicken got lost. Skipping breakfast and having my lunch and dinner in the company's cafeteria became a habit to me, just like all the other employees working there. Sometimes we used to get busy to the point we didn't even have the chance to eat our meals, so having food from KFC was out of the question. It was until one day when the manager of our team went out of character and offered to treat us outside the cafeteria for once. That was also because his wife finally gave birth to a son after 3 daughters. I suggested the nearest outlet the moment he asked for my opinion, and strangely, he took us there. He was being way too generous when he announced that we could order whatever we wanted as it was going to be paid from his wallet. Everyone ordered whatever they wanted to their heart's content, whereas I only ordered a combo bucket of hot chicken wings and boneless strips. The way he was flinching looking at the bill, I could tell he was having second thoughts, but then the manager didn't order for himself and decided to share from others as there was too much as it was. I saw that the dips they were using have been changing by now, but the moment I took a bite of the first piece, I could tell the difference in taste from when I used to devour these things like hungry wolves. Thinking that the taste might seem different because I haven't had them in quite a long time, I somehow managed to eat the first one and picked up a second piece to eat. But as I was eating the second, I could feel the grease gathering on the top part of my mouth, and it was unbearable to finish the rest of it. I looked over at the others, and as some of them were eating as if it was the best thing they've ever had after working on a hungry stomach all day, some were having the same reaction as me. But they still chose to finish what they ordered because compared to the almost inedible food we were consuming from the cafeteria, this was still far better. The manager glared at me in warning for picking on my food after spending so much money on it, so I tried to forcefully stuff the remaining chicken pieces and managed to finish them. But that didn't last long, as I started to get sick to my stomach almost immediately and had to rush to the bathroom to throw everything up. Unfortunately, my humiliation had been decided the moment I ate those damn chickens, so before I could even pass up the customer area and get to the restroom, I felt an ache in my stomach, along with a spin in my head causing me to spill my dinner right on the floor. I was feeling too dizzy to get my mind to work correctly or get a hold of myself, but right after a punch flew to my face, making me fall after sliding to a few meters where I was standing. As I was trying to fight this uneasy feeling in my chest, I got that someone had become the victim of a humiliation along with me and decided to take it out on me. That was when I again felt the familiar sensation of nausea returning, and I started being sick to my stomach. I tried to get up to rush to the restroom, but it came again, right there at that moment, and I started ejecting like a viscous lava from a volcano. As I was finished, I started to get back to my senses, and embarrassment started to hit harder than an abusive drunken stepfather. With hesitation still in check, I slightly looked toward the team who was trying to hide their faces, acting as if they did not know me. The man came to me again with his screams like nails on a chalkboard and asked how I was going to compensate him. But instead of saying anything to him, I looked over to the KFC staff who were giving me a disgusted look. "It's all because the chicken here tastes like crap now that I can't even swallow them without being sick afterward." Even though I wanted the ground to swallow me whole with the amount of embarrassment I was feeling, I couldn't help but scream at the top of my lungs, failing to hide my humiliation. I did not say anything false. The chicken wasn't something I could eat anymore with it being like this, and some of the people who were eating there may have agreed with me, but it was not them who was the punchline of the joke. And as I had officially ruined their appetites with such a nasty scene on display, they ignored me. Cleaning staff and security immediately rushed there, as they did not want their outlet to lose their customers due to the mess I made. Security had to throw me out, and cleaning staff was to clean my spew. The rest of the customers, including my team, came out of the outlet right after me, and I could feel them giving me a look of disdain, which was even worse. I immediately went back to my home with the feeling of discomfort, and for the next few days, I took sick leave from the office. Not going to lie, I did think of resigning from my position several times in those past few days, but that would mean I did something wrong when there was no fault of mine in whatever happened. Even thinking of KFC makes me feel sick to my stomach again, and as today's the last day of my leave, I'm still thinking about how I'm going to face them in their scorn. I am the manager at the KFC in Slovakia. It is one of the lesser-known places, and since chicken is universally loved by most, KFC decided to open up a shop in Slovakia. Most of the chicken was imported, and there was this sweet texture to it. Most of the raw material used in making was the standard material like every other KFC, and similar spices were used to make the KFC. Our place was a bit off the city, but was mostly packed during the day. And then in the night, like everything, it used to become the darker image of itself. The KFC had given us few liberties to create new recipes, since the Eastern European taste was pretty different, and the chicken didn't do much to the taste of Eastern European people. So we had the liberty of trying different things and different meals to suit for the local people. Even though it was called Kentucky Fried Chicken, our owner did not want us to limit the store with just chicken. So we used everything and people loved it. Whatever the inspection people came, we just bribed them. It was easy to deal with when the inspection team was from Slovakia itself. It would be easy for us to just explain why we would do this, and they would understand. And I think even though we were the first to do it, there were so many KFCs in Slovakia that they were adopting our methods because our methods generated more revenue than the others did. So everyone in Slovakia were cool about it. Us, the inspecting managers, our owner, and the people who were eating it. Then one day we heard the news that one of the inspecting team from KFC in the United States of America will be coming to inspect us. And moreover, they are planning on branching out further into the Slavic countries, and they wanted to start out the research from our place, since we were the highest revenue generating KFC in the region. We were informed that they will be arriving on the Monday, so the following Sunday, we had all our surprise of the different meats we were using to make the fried chicken. Even though we called it chicken, we rarely fried chicken there. We just used the alphabet of the meat we were serving so people would know. So if it said KFC bucket D, that meant it was fried deer and not chicken. And we did that with a variety of meat because chicken was the least favorite of the people and belonged to such cold-placed chicken was really more like under meal. The following Sunday, we cleared out everything and changed the menu and got rid of anything that made us unusual than other KFCs. They came the following Monday and introduced themselves. They were wearing their corporate suits and looked as straight as they can be and started inspecting the place carefully. They were looking at things that making sure that all of them were according to the US KFC standard, which I personally thought was stupid. Knowing what taste Slovakian people like, it was pretty sure that KFC would not even sell a single piece here if it was just the chicken. And they were measuring things and pointing out the slightest of blunders, if they were in the photos that were displayed, or how the furniture was assembled, or how the things were visible in the kitchen in distance. We were just trying to not let them enter the kitchen. They were seated, and they ordered the chicken, and as we served them, they really liked it. It was the bland KFC chicken, and they liked it. Mostly because it was similar to the very chicken served through different KFCs. One of them must have realized something. He said, "This smells different, almost as if there was a residue or something else, something with more flavor here." That guy was good, and he was definitely the one we did not want in our kitchen to be. He stopped eating and said, "I would like to take a look into the kitchen and see the process. I want to see how your employees make the chicken here. I want to find the flavor of that residue meat on the chicken. Take me to the kitchen." As we went inside the kitchen, he started observing our workers working and making the chicken in there and started snooping around. I asked him, "What are you looking for, sir?" And then he said, "There is something fragrant in this kitchen. It is definitely not chicken, and I know it, because I know what kind of meat smells like. So are you going to tell me what you are doing here, or will I have to try to figure it out on my own?" I was confused with everything that was going on, and there was nothing much I can say, and I started stammering, and he must have caught the lie. He took the hand off one of the workers, tool off the gloves, and started licking her fingers and said, "See? Told you to stink smell. Something else." He continued, "You tell me what it is, or I inform my supervisors that you are just not simply making chicken, but so much more, and I will make sure that you all get shit for breaking the KFC contract." And in that state of panic, I punched him right in the face and he was out cold. The kitchen staff looked at me as nothing happened and they picked him up, taped his mouth, and moved him to the cold storage where he stored all the meat. And just then, the other guy came in and said, "They are hiding something their accounts don't match. They are hiding cash." And in all that, as he raised his head out from the book he was holding, he saw us putting his partner in the cold storage. And in that moment, one of our kitchen guys went up behind and grabbed him. We later helped and taped this guy up too and put them both in the fridge. Today it has been a month since the incident and they are still in the fridge, frozen with their eyes wide open with all the meat.
Maybe we might turn them into our menu. We're not sure about that at the moment.
I had an exceptionally upsetting incident on my third job house sitting. To help you understand why it affected me so much, I should probably tell you about myself. I grew up in a single-parent home. My mom has always been a loving and understanding parent, but I think she felt pressure to find a new husband. My dad left us soon after I was born. She began dating almost immediately. This pressure caused her to make a lot of bad choices. She did the bar scene, constantly bringing home a new man. A few would stay, but not for long. She never seemed to understand that you don't find a husband in a place like that. Every relationship inevitably broke down into arguments and fighting, and on more than one occasion, the fights got physical on both sides. My mom's love of wine did a lot to inflame tensions. And because of this constant state of chaos, I became a people pleaser and hated confrontation. It's the big reason behind my panic attacks. I've worked a lot on my assertiveness, but I sometimes fall back into my old habits. My story starts in 2015. I was bouncing from job to job. I've been having a hard time finding something in my degree field. A friend had recently become a house sitter and made it sound fun. She made it sound like a permanent vacation, and I desperately needed one of those. She gave me a quick course on the ins and outs of the job and helped me land my first client. I was a ball of nerves, but I got through it. The second client went much smoother. It would be the third that would make me think twice about doing this long term. It was now mid-2016. I answered an ad asking for someone to sit a house a few hours away. This would be my first long-distance gig, and I didn't want to mess it up. I made a list of questions and showed them to my friend. She suggested a few changes, and I called the number. The homeowner and I made an appointment for me to view the property. I quickly made arrangements and drove up to meet him. He was a businessman, needing to leave town on short notice. My job would be to accept packages and mail, but most importantly, look after his dog. The dog's name was Bart. He was a St. Bernard mix, and when we first met, he didn't appear very interested in anything. He sniffed me once and returned to his bed. It all seemed simple enough. I asked a few questions, and at the end of the appointment, we both decided that I'd be perfect for the job. I checked into my hotel for the night and returned the following morning. My stay would be for 3 full nights, and I was looking forward to relaxing and maybe even playing with Bart. That afternoon, I tried to do just that. Bart wasn't interested, though. Instead, we lounged together on the patio. It was a beautiful sunny day. The slow, cool breeze in the shade made it feel like paradise. The home's slightly remote location allowed for a wonderfully peaceful environment. I felt calmer than I had in a very long time. Bart and I took a brief nap before going back inside for dinner. I ordered a pizza and cheesy bread. Afterwards, I opened a pint of ice cream I bought for such an occasion and parked my butt in front of the television. Bart was proving to be just as easy to handle as I'd hoped. He joined me on the couch and we watched a movie on Netflix. We had completed a little less than half of it before the doorbell began ringing. This wasn't your normal ringing, however. The person was pushing the button over and over again. It was now well after 5 p.m. and I wasn't aware of anyone visiting that late. I did briefly consider not answering it, but the incessant ringing made me think someone may need help. The woman I encountered on the opposite side of the door had very aggressive body language. I didn't say one word before she tore into me. She demanded to speak to the homeowner. I told her he was out of town on business. It didn't seem wise to let her know when he was to return. She didn't appear to believe me. As she spoke, she grew louder and became visibly angrier. I could feel myself getting increasingly nervous, and I did all I could to convince her. Then, she began cursing at me, calling me all these things and terrible words I'd rather not repeat here. She had convinced herself that I was the homeowner's new girlfriend. I hadn't noticed until just then, but Bart had walked up behind me. As he became more enraged, he grew more aggressive. The scene quickly became a cacophony of yelling and barking. I could feel a panic attack was on the way. I was completely overwhelmed by all of it. Bart's booming bark echoed through the hallway. It looked like he would attack her at any moment. And things would only get worse from here. I'm not sure what I said, but it set the woman off, and she lunged at me. Bart reacted by lunging at her. By some miracle, I was able to get the door closed before anyone was hurt. After that, Bart calmed down a bit. He backed away a few feet and sat down, but his eyes stayed glued to the door. I slid down the door and commenced suffering one of the worst panic attacks I've ever experienced. And the woman continued screaming and pounding on the door, and I was sure that I was dying. To his credit, Bart stayed where he was and did nothing, and minutes passed and I was able to get enough control of myself to call the police. The operator did a fantastic job of talking me down. The police arrived and I made it clear that she attempted to assault me. The officers were understanding and took the woman away with them. I'm not sure if he was formally arrested, however. I was still very shaken. I was a heartbeat away from running back home. In any matter, I had to notify the homeowner of what had happened. He was extremely apologetic and begged me not to leave, but against my better judgment, I agreed to stay. Like I said, I tend toward being a people pleaser. Admittedly, leaving Bart alone after he tried to protect me would have been cruel. We finally agreed that my fee would be doubled. It did feel like extortion, and I knew it may affect my reputation, but I'd already decided this would be my last sitting job, so I accepted. I'd need all the money I could get until I found a new job anyway. The next 2 nights were calm and quiet. Bart stayed by my side the entire time. It made leaving that much harder. The homeowner and I had a brief conversation the morning he returned. He was still very apologetic and explained what may have caused the situation. He and the crazy woman had been dating, but he ended it because of her suspicious and controlling behavior. I didn't inquire any further, and I got the impression he was very embarrassed by her. I'd already been paid, so nothing was keeping me around any longer, except for Bart. I bent down and gave my hero a big hug and kiss on the nose. I could already feel the tears welling up. I didn't want to make a scene of myself, so I said goodbye and jogged away to my car. That was the worst and the last of my brief career in house sitting, and I'll miss it for a second, and as for Bart, that's a completely different story.